Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
Well,
mean, make you self-conscious or whatever, or
I mean, I like the way I look,
self-conscious.
even if I look like crap. I still like myself, but it's just,
Heh.
I don't like this surprise surveillance, even if it's an act of publicity on my part. Okay, just that's a joke. But all right, welcome to the Cinephiles podcast, which is two. This is me, my friend Will Daly, talking about the Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson, which came out a number of years ago, but it remains a classic in the film cognoscenti universe. People who like films, they like the Grand Budapest Hotel without question.
Yeah.
It's a unanimously liked film. I haven't met anyone who hated it.
Yeah, I didn't read much of the reviews or anything like I think you did, but I basically, it certainly seems like people all generally like it. I mean, I noticed some like talk pieces where it's like they were making the Nazis too much like a fairy tale cartoon thing, sort of. But besides that, I don't think anyone really disliked it. And, it also got lots of critical stuff as well. Like it was just a popular hit. But I guess.
Yeah, it's I mean, I feel like my criticism of Wes Anderson is pretty specific and narrow and short. I think he tries too hard with his casting. I think he's like low key kind of a bad casting person. Whoever.
I thought exactly that. Honestly, when I was watching, I realized like this is like weirdly because I was watching another movie recently and I had the opposite thought that like, wow, this movie is like so well cast, but it's just so like poorly written that it's like kind of stupid. But it's the opposite. Like with Wes Anderson, it's like, dude, like you shouldn't have cast like your friends in this role. Like I know you like them as like your ensemble, but like it just doesn't like Bill Murray does not work as like a French like.
Well,
like
Bill Murray,
waiter.
yeah. I mean, Bill Murray doesn't really work as anything. I mean, I saw him in a movie recently, and I forgot that he was in the movie. I rewatched it, and I was like, "What is he the gay? Like, is he the gay friend or something? Like the boyfriend? I don't get like Have you seen the movie Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman?
No, I haven't.
Dude, that's a classic film. It's directed by Sidney Pollack. It's probably the best film directed by Sidney Pollack, and Sidney Pollack also acts in it, which is cool. But Dustin Hoffman steals the show. He's like he cross dresses in order to get more roles as an actor, and no one knows that's him because he has a bad reputation. So he completely like seems like he's disappeared, and he dresses as a woman, and people think it's just this new person, basically a new identity.
Weird.
Yeah, it came out like the 70s, early 70s, and at the time, I think it was like a lot more radical than it is now. Like now, if that came out, it would be sort of like kind of, I don't know, blasé or something. But when it came, anyway. So the reason I mention it is that Bill Murray's in that, and Bill Murray, I forgot he was even in it, and I watched it, and he's like the best friend character, but he kind of seems almost like a gay lover. Like they had this understated intimacy like throughout the whole thing. It's like I don't know. It's like. Because the whole premise is kind of gay. Like he's dressing as a woman.
Definitely, dude.
And now, and then he has like and so the Bill Murray character seemed like a tacked in like boyfriend kind of. But I will say that Bill Murray has a great face for characters. And I liked him in the Life Aquatic film with Steve Zissou. Life Aquatic.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't fit anywhere. I feel like he was good in that, for example. Like, is this kind of like, kind of like washed up, but also like professional, like diver man. It seemed to fit.
You know what it was, man? My childhood was not enriched with Bill Murray films. It was like I knew him from Ghostbusters and maybe Lost in Translation and I don't know, something else in the ether. And I didn't really. He wasn't like a presence, on the screen for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he also. What I mean is, it's not just him, but I think a lot of the casting, he cycles through this like ensemble, and with something that's like that, like about history. What's weird, it's not even like he's bad at casting. It's like he prefers his friends too much. I think because like when you look at the extras and the side characters, they are totally convincing as like. Germans from the 30s or whatever, Austrians from the 30s, for the most part, I'd say.
Yeah. It's funny how the Austrians have come to be seen as not Germans, but back then the lines are more blurred.
Wasn't that Hitler's whole like sort of part of his rationale for taking Austria was like, we're all the same people, so we should be the
Dude,
same
Hitler
country,
was
right?
literally Austrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people forget that because they just don't understand that, it's not like Mexico and America where you can't cross the border. Like you just walk over and like, I speak the same language. I'm German.
It's like being Canadian.
But they have a totally different culture. I mean, it's like night and day. In southern Germany, in like Bavaria,
Really?
it's very similar to Austria, and they wear like they all wear the lederhosen and they have the flugelhorns and the funny hats with the feathers and the yodeling.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
They're shepherds on the mountaintops. It's a very Nibelungenlied.
Yeah, definitely.
Broomhilda and Sigisbert or whatever his name is, Sigismund. The sword leaders. That German culture stuff is very medieval and pastoral, and it's not like that in northern Germany. Though northern Germany is, I don't know, it's almost like Denmark. Just kind of turns into Denmark after a certain point.
Yeah, well,
once you hit Berlin, it just all turns into Denmark.
I guess there aren't as many mountains or something.
Yeah, it's like all flat. It's hard to, you know what it is? It's hard to invade. It's easy to invade. So they get really like defensive with, in terms of, so they industrialize more than other people. They work on it's just like they're very hardcore in northern Germany and intense because it's such an easy place to invade that they really like have to be on edge in order to not get invaded.
Well, I've heard that like, I don't know, people speculate that places like Germany and Japan, I don't know. It's just a place like Western Europe became like really, I don't know.
Western Europe is an artificial social construct. I mean, what does that even mean, right?
Yeah.
Because everywhere you go in Western Europe, I feel like is radically different.
Yeah. Well, I just mean like in terms of technology, like those places industrialized way before everyone else. I just heard it was because like they were always fighting or something. So I don't know. That like led to it. Like it was the necessity of having to win in wars and stuff.
Yes and no. It was like economics too. It's just about production, industrializing factories, manufacturing. Yeah. But the movie. So the point is that Austria is not this industrialized nation like Germany or Prussia or whatever it was called back then. Austria is a very like laid back aristocratic culture that values status and leisure. They like music, they paintings, and that Budapest is sort of like a client state of Austria for much of its history. Sorry, Hungary, where Budapest is capital now. And so Budapest is supposed to have like a semblance of that Austrian, joie de vivre or whatever. And
so it's kind of like
and
begins to fall off or something.
Yeah, and a lot of those people spoke German, right? You see in the movie they have different phases of tyrannical, sort of authoritarian, iron-fisted police, stormtroopers. They have the guys on the trains; they're the standard military police, and then you have the guys on the trains; they're like the fascist military police.
The Freikorps or something, right?
Yeah, they had this funny name for it. Yeah, the whimsical like imagination for the writing people, I guess it was just Wes Anderson. It's really good. And then the thing I like about obviously the color palette is like off the chain. I mean, you feel like everything. You feel like it's all painted after a while. You kind of stop thinking you're in a movie. You start to think you're like in an art gallery, like in New York or something. It's like there's an art gallery in Manhattan near the Met, but it's not on the Met's property. It's just kind of near it. It's called it's a museum. It's called the Neue Gallery, which means the new gallery, and it's a German and Austrian. Museum, and they have a cafe. You don't have to pay to go to. It's a free cafe, and you go to the and it's they have Weimar era paintings, but they also have like 1800 stuff, and they have the fin de siècle stuff from Vienna with like Gustav Klimt and Alphonse Mucha, and they just have all this like Belle Epoque era stuff as well. They kind of transmigrated from France into Eastern Europe, and it's just really interesting because I haven't been there yet. I still have to check it out. But they have all this Viennese sculptures of Mozart and Franz Schubert, and it's like
sounds awesome. I love that stuff. That's like my favorite genre kind of like art is a lot of that. I think it is for a lot of people. I hate how there's like this cliche of like, oh yeah, college girls will hang out like Gustav Klimt. It's like yeah, dude, that's like the best thing college girls do. Like, you shouldn't make fun of them for that.
Gustav
like
Klimt.
awesome.
Well, Gustav Klimt was funny. He was afraid to leave Vienna, and he never took a train. He was afraid to take the trains, and so he was.
Why? Just kind of an old timey guy.
Yeah, I mean, back then the trains were new tech. You know, a new infrastructure. Scary.
I heard people used to be like afraid of taking showers because they thought it would like scald them.
Sure.
It's such a weird experience.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm still afraid for that reason, right? Like, aren't we all? Like, oh, I don't want to go in there; it's too hot. And you like, wait a second, like, okay, it's good now.
Yeah, that's true. We retain like a little bit. Like we'll get it eventually, but
I liked how there was this funny. I think what helped with the movie was this: they had this sort of Indian actor, but he was playing a Turk, which I guess
was he?
Yeah, I think he had to be.
I didn't get that because it
Yeah, he had to be. Like, yeah, he had to be. But it was a nod to the Darjeeling Limited, which is an earlier Anderson film.
But he had the chic. Not the chic. The Sikh turban on.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was bright orange. I remember it. That's when I felt like, dude, this guy is just like.
I thought he had Fez, as far as I remember. Okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I feel like you're right. He should have been Turkish. Like that would be perfect. Like, you know, not only is the society of the Cross Keys all these schwanky, like, yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know. I sound like I'm only complaining about it. I feel like I am, but I guess like it wasn't as good as I remember. But I guess that's part of it was just like you sort of look out for things that you missed the first time when you see a movie again. And,
well, I believe they couldn't actually secure a hotel for principal photography. Yeah, they actually had to get some kind of like it might have been a bathhouse or what. Let me Google this because I don't remember. It might have been a government building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seemed like one. I don't know.
Well, it definitely seemed like one, but even I was scratching my head. Like, there's no way they got like a working hotel that they could just like fuck around with, you know, and redecorate and like make it There's no way that no one would let them do that. And there's no way they built it. It's like way too elaborate to be built in like a sound stage or whatever the fuck. So
yeah, too big.
Have you ever read, by the way, just while I'm looking this up, have you ever read this movie is based off a novel by Stefan Zweig.
Oh, really? I thought it was just like based off of him, like in general, kind of.
Oh, yeah, but his novels are very autobiographical. It's from what I remember. But yeah, it's his life, I guess. So yeah, effectively. But do you know anything about him? Because I knew he was like he was sort of like this Don Juan kind of guy.
I didn't. I mean, I know a little bit about him, but I don't really see him like that at all. From what I remember, he was like in that whole like super literary scene at that time. You know, sorry, I don't know what you call it. Like with Mon or whatever, and all those other guys in that time period. But he was also like really like connected. Weirdly, like he was like weirdly well connected. And so he had a lot of friends, and he was always like buying and selling rare books and zooming around, writing novels. And but then he like had to run away from the Nazis, and he had to do that like twice or something. And so he just became really sad and took his own life.
Oh, I might be confusing him with someone else who was like a Casanova sort of figure.
Yeah.
But this guy is, he's more of like a proper novelist. Yeah. Like
but he also seemed like he's one of those like guys who's like just hella well connected. That sounds stupid, but like.
But I'll tell you one thing, man. I'll tell you one thing. The Austrian culture is very much about. It's like that late French bourbon, decadence. It's just like it's all about relations. Yeah. It's not even. He's like a byproduct of an era. He's not necessarily. Him being connected is not necessarily like a mark of individuality. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Other guys could have been like that. Yeah, I see what you mean, but I just mean like I'm going all over the place, but compared to I think other writers of his time,
sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, he was definitely like he was distinguished because of that among writers. Yeah, and interesting thing about this movie is I didn't realize is that it was co-written with a friend of Wes Anderson called Hugo Guinness, and Hugo Guinness is actually He's co-written a lot of the movies with Wes Anderson, and he's an illustrator too. Like he's made money as an illustrator, and he did The Life Aquatic, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and The Royal Tenenbaums. He provides the artwork for some of these movies, and he does voices for some of them also. So this guy is someone. If you like Wes Anderson, this is a guy to know about.
Yeah, really. It sounds like he's he deserves half the net. Well, it definitely feels like it often feels like it's just made with this illustrative sensibility. I mean, just because it's so darn.
The one I want to see is Moonrise Kingdom, but I can't watch Fantastic Mr. Fox. It seems like bullshit.
Yeah, Fantastic Mr. Fox is like weirdly, it just didn't work for me. Like him speaking English and like the guys being British, like I couldn't get over that. It was like. Sorry, I mean, they're both speaking English, but you know what I mean.
He speaks American English and they speak British English.
Yeah, and he's a fox in freaking England. Like, that, I don't get it, dude. Like, my suspension of disbelief is broken. And people love that movie, so I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm not like.
Okay, but here's another genius. I know, I totally agree. I'm 100%, 110% on it. But here's another genius to know about, who's Robert Yaleman. And Robert Yaleman is the director of photography for I think almost all of Wes Anderson's movies, most of them, at least like 70%. Yeah, and I don't know if that matters a lot to people, but like if you're into film, like having a good DP is like essential. Yeah,
that makes sense. Just so everything, but it doesn't Wes Anderson like? I mean, surely the whole like weird like his whole weird like photography style is surely. Sorry, it's surely him, isn't it? It's not like his DP, like behind the scenes doing it.
Well, it's often a mixture. Yeah, but like there's no great director whose like style changed. His photography style changes when. Sorry. What am I saying? There's no great director whose style of photography doesn't change when their DP changes out.
Okay, so it's not like totally the auteur thing.
It's never like that. The DP always has an oversized influence on the photography.
Huh.
Yeah, it's actually annoying because you realize that the whole director name is a little bit of a bullshit because everything you're watching comes down to like different disparate parts. Like director of photography is a big one. Editor is a real big one. Maybe not as important as cinematographer, but still vital. And then the writer. I mean, that's like probably more important than the cinematography.
Yeah, seriously, it's huge. Yeah, no, I mean, I always feel like writing. Well, it sounds pretentious, but it just feels like I feel like it's the soul of a movie.
It's the soul of a movie, the probity, and
that's
the other. What are you saying? Sorry,
go ahead. I was just gonna say that's what I like most about that. That's like the redeeming thing by far, which like makes up for every complaint I would have about the hotel, Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, no. What I don't like about the way he shoots is he doesn't do close-up shots very well. Like you're talking about Paul Thomas Anderson is really good at close-ups, and Wes Anderson though he's good at everything but close-ups. Yeah, it's like I don't know. He just can't. He can't do a close-up in the way that like the audience expects. Like he does it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because his whole thing is like this sort of dollhouse aesthetic,
Yeah, it's clinical a little bit. It's a little bit like disconnected.
Yeah.
There's like a warmth in color, but there's not a warmth in like,
it's not like
a human warmth. There's not.
Yeah, exactly. It's like extremely waspy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Anderson is a Swedish name or something. It's not really like a. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. But I think is Anderson even like a wasp name?
I don't know.
Is it? Oh, I guess. You know what? It is a wasp. Like, it comes from Scott.
Dude, it's from freaking like the Matrix.
Yeah, no. It comes from Andrew. Anders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just setting aside that, like, it's but yeah, it's hard to like describe his style, obviously. Although I'm sure you could like make a list of what it is, and kind of I think what you said sort of nailed it. That's kind of clinical, and it always sort of annoyed me, I guess. Like I don't relish his style at all. Like I kind of like look past it almost because I don't know. It's like I like parts of it. I don't like other parts of it. Like I don't know.
It's gonna be 10 years since that movie came out pretty soon. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, it is crazy. Well, I really want to see the French Dispatch now, just because like.
Oh yeah, I've been gushing over it, and I just haven't been able to because the only cheap theater is like I have to go like on a 40-minute jaunt to go to an affordable movie theater in New York City because you can go to a rock concert where you see like 3 different bands and then a headliner that kicks ass, and then you get laid and you make a bunch of friends, get drinks afterwards, do some coke, and it's all like $35, right, for that whole experience. But then seeing one fucking...
Or you could see a movie.
Or you can see a movie. Yeah, exactly. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. One thing I in terms of the casting, so I was in the side. I really don't want to keep ranting on these things, but Ridley Scott is he does all his own casting, and Ridley Scott, he does a lot of historical films and also science fiction, but he went to an art school and has been illustrating for a long time, and he does all his storyboards as illustrating. So when I think of someone who casts well, it's an auteur that knows what people are supposed to look like in a film and will do the casting himself. I get the feeling that Anderson does his own casting, but it doesn't seem to like have it's just too, you know what I mean? It's like it's too on the nose.
I would disagree. I would say that like he has a clique that he likes, and so they don't fit, and he just puts them in because they're his friends, which is like I don't really. It's not that bad, but it kind of detracts from it a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Who said Owen Wilson? Like Owen Wilson as like Butler Chuck or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of funny, but it doesn't really it doesn't seem plausible at all. Owen Wilson is randomly like a butler.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it works. Like Adrian Brody, I think, who's like the jerk, who's like the antagonist kind of.
That works.
That works, dude. He's like a freaking stock. He's like a Nazi aristocrat. I mean, honestly, it could have worked better. It doesn't work that well, but it works pretty well.
Well, that one was the best. He was the best casted actor, I think, in the whole.
Well, I'd say Ralph Fiennes or whatever.
Ralph Fiennes is better.
Yeah, dude. He makes it along with like.
Okay. Yeah, I'll concede that. I think Ralph Fiennes was a superior casted actor. Performed.
He does look sort of, I guess, more British than German. I guess
he looks a little bit like he's he doesn't really like. He looks a little bit like he doesn't want to be there. Just a little like this eerie feeling that he like has better shit to do. But that kind of works for a guy who's sort of like a side wheeling, like greaseball dude or whatever, like greaseback hair and whatnot, and smarmy kind of works for that kind of like loose gigolo personality. But
I think he was any of that. That's not the impression.
He was a gigolo, man. He was a loose gigolo. That was the whole point.
I don't know. I know what you mean, but like he was refined. His whole point was that he was all refined. I mean, I get part of it was that he was like you're saying, he's literally a gigolo. But I don't know.
He slept with the old ladies for muffins. So he eat their muffins.
No, but like that's not even a thing. Like nobody even. That's what's so interesting about it. It's like that's so emblematic of that world that's just disappeared. That like some guy would just do that. Like that's unimaginable that anyone would do that today.
No, it's not unimaginable. It's just that he wouldn't look the same because it's a different style. But fashion moved on. But,
yeah, but he wouldn't have the same like refinement and the same like nuance.
No, dude. They would have like a mechanical American refinement that like sucked, but was still like the best around kind of. Like it would have been readapted for the American modern culture. But
that's the whole difference.
No, sure. That's why the movie is so brilliant. Is it encapsulates an era, but not just like the era in like a broad stroke, but like a specific element that people just overlook.
Yeah, and that's the real value of it. And that's kind of one of the most special things about all his films is he somehow like manages to and that's why I think you should watch or rewatch Moonrise Kingdom because like. It's a similar thing. Like it captures like the most like
the whole Boy Scouting thing.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's like with this New England thing, and Boy Scouts is part of it, but it's also just like it's extremely like. I mean, you could say civilized or something, but it's more just like I guess civilized. I don't know. It's about class or something.
I'll tell you one thing though. When I was in the Boy Scouts, I felt like it did not match up with what I saw on screen at Moonrise Kingdom.
Well, yeah, exactly, dude. That's because it was in the '60s. I mean, it's an era. It's not just like a encomium for the Boy Scouts as such. It's like '60s Boy Scouts back when scouting. I don't know, dude. I didn't even know how to tie a knot in the Boy Scouts. That's the whole difference.
Yeah, well, the Boy Scouts we were in the same troop at one point, and the Boy Scouts we were in was like. It was almost just like conservative boot camp. It wasn't even. It was like militarized. It wasn't even like about learning things.
I know. I remember that. It did feel like. I mean, on the one hand, it felt like that. I don't know. I don't feel like we were. I don't feel like I guess so. Yeah, it was kind of like following orders and.
It was like a military school, but like you did it in your free time. It's kind of a joke,
I hated it, man.
Yeah, we went. We were in, where we grew up and where we went. That whole area was kind of. There was a side to it where like the men who like paid the bills and worked and, that they were like trying to be like they there was a side to it where they. It's hard to explain, but like you go to a lot of places and people like have fun. I always feel like the adults who are where we're from, they just never had any fun. I always felt like we lived in. It was like the adults just didn't know how to have fun. Yeah.
And so that bled over into Boy Scouts, you would say.
Yeah, because the adults micromanaged everyone in the Boy Scouts. Yeah.
Jeez.
So like the quality of the adults really matters in your troop. And obviously in this movie, you see that. I mean, the Scoutmaster in this movie is like the nicest guy. And
yeah, he's a really good person. And like in the end, he's like a math teacher. There's like these like touching moments where like, I don't know. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I will defend Owen Wilson a bit. I think Owen Wilson is good in every movie he's in. I think he's good. I think he's good in every movie because he has an extremely distinct personality that is irreplaceable. And I think that if you throw him into a comedy, it makes the movie like it adds a whole different little aspect to the movie.
Yeah, dude, I was watching Zoolander, and
I mean, I'm not wrong about that one. Yeah, he was really good in that one.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's like the act to go to like lead. He's not I don't think of him as a lead, but I think of him as a side character that can round out a film, sort of maybe like Jack Black on his best movies. Actually, I think he's the opposite of Jack Black. I think Jack Black is better as a lead, and he's annoying when he's a side character. Like he's like gratuitous. he's overqualified for it or something. Owen Wilson, I think, as a lead is kind of he's underqualified. Like in Zoolander, I kind of know that was a long time ago, by the way.
He's like kind of the antagonist, like Pretty Boy.
Yeah, he was kind of annoying in that movie, but it worked. It's just like, I don't know, you kind of feel like maybe like a different actor would have been better. But that was part of the point, was he was supposed to be annoying. In this movie, though, he's barely in it, and I kind of wish there was more of him. I wish he was more in it. I want to see more of him.
He's freaking amazing in the Darjeeling Limited. Like he really fits in that one with wearing that like weird ass
I'm trying to remember if who my favorite in the Darjeeling Limited was, because it's Adrian Brody.
They're also good.
Yeah, they're all really good. Jason Schwartzman.
That little guy. Yeah.
Jason Schwartzman. Jason Schwartzman's related to Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah. It's really weird. Yeah. Well, Francis Ford Coppola has like Nicolas Cage is his nephew, and his wife is Talia Shire. I mean, he's got so many weird connections. The Coppola's.
And his daughter's,
Sophia Coppola, who is a director in her own right, and so it's just it's a lot of stuff. But yeah, so let's go. Sorry, man. Let's talk more about these other characters. The fascination with pastries in this film really kind of brought out to me the best thing about Austro-Hungarian Empire, which is the sort of the daintiness and this kind of like cultivated frills, where like you feel like you can expend at your own leisure without feeling guilty about it, and I think that's sort of like the virtue in this kind of. It's really a microcosm for that whole Austro-Hungarian upper class
It's like a
society.
totally well-made pastry, kind of.
Not the pastry. I'm saying the movie and the hotel, but even the
Oh.
pastry itself is like a microcosm of a microcosm. That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's
the distillation of it. It like represents it. If it could be a food, it would be a pastry. Yeah.
Yeah, a very well-made, like amazing pastry.
Yeah, like you had the guy went to school for like a year to like figure out how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's part of it as well, which I like. Is like it's this acknowledgement that like just people in the 20th century had just these insane like amazing lives. Like they did things that were like so difficult that like we would never do. Kind of like when he's getting interviewed and I don't know, it's like 6 months here, 8 months there, and when he's giving when the butler guy or whatever, you know, the grand concierge is giving him like this long, elaborate list of orders that he has to just memorize and do. Or when he's like dictating his message and the poetry, the constant poetry everywhere, that honestly is where the writing shines. That like periodically, overly, you know, fluffy poetry. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it because I sometimes I tune out poetry, but I do think that it is befitting his character because poetry is almost like a lens through which we can view the world. Like it's like not even an art sometimes. It's almost just like a way of reimagining society, like having a poetic lens, and it's like it's almost like a getting in touch in our animistic roots. Like being a good poet is essentially being an animist. It's having a different personal religion with its own moral universe. And being a poet is like one of the highest forms of devotion. And I think it's cool that anyone would do it. But I think they sort of they didn't really capitalize on that in this movie. I think that they made it look like they made poetry look dumb.
Yeah,
and I think that is a disservice.
They make it look like flowery and that's kind of like I'd say that's kind of like the ambiguity of the movie is like is it making fun of like people putting this much effort into useless things or does it like secretly kind of appreciate them? It seems like it sort of fluctuates. Like it's played for laughs sometimes, but other times it's like, I mean, it's kind of the whole enjoyment is seeing these people just be extremely.
Oh, okay, get this though. The interior for the hotel was not a hotel. It was a department store in Gorlitz, Germany, East Germany. And it was actually used in several other films, including Inglourious Bastards and some other ones. And it's literally at a department store that they're using in the film. It's not a hotel. Which is why it's so big. Like the interiors to hotels are never that grand, you know? It's funny though.
Grand Budapest was that grand.
What
also I didn't follow. I could not follow the story. Like
it's a hard story to follow. Yeah.
Like I get it. Like you follow the emotional beats.
I had to watch it 3 times to get. Yeah, I think ultimately on my third sit through, that's when I understood the whole thing.
Wow.
Maybe the second time I understood like the probe of it, but on the third time I like got every little thing. And then, but what's interesting is that, and disappointing actually, is that F. Murray Abraham is kind of in it at the end, or he's the owner, right?
Yeah, he's the older Zero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I just feel like he's such a good actor, and he's just barely in the movie. It pissed me off.
I know. He fits in the bookends though, just because like he's like you said, it's like it's really fun to watch him.
What did you think of he didn't he's a little bit of like a like you don't want to see too much of him necessarily because he kind of steals the show. Maybe I feel like that's why, because you know what I mean, like if he was, I don't know, it's almost like he's too good for it or something in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like that because I'm a big fan of the movie Amadeus. Yeah. And he got an Oscar for Amadeus. And I always feel like, well, what other movies are he in where he has like such a prominent leading, role? And it just, you never see it. And then when a movie like this comes out, you're like, oh, I've married Abraham's in it. That he's gonna be one of the main characters because of Amadeus, and he just
Yeah. I know, and he's basically in the bookends along with that other guy.
I'm sure they had some B-roll with him doing other stuff, but it's whatever, it's like. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like when you see Norm Macdonald being edited out of like an Adam Sandler movie. It's crushing.
Yeah.
Do you what did you think of all these other? Did you have any other thoughts on the characters? Like Edward Norton was in there, Jeff Goldblum, Jude Law, Harvey Keitel, Willem Dafoe.
Goldblum kind of fits, I guess. Edward Norton just seemed like he was kind of there to be there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that one, the Edward Norton one, like it when he's talking, it works, but when he's silent, his face is structured in such a way that like you just kind of don't want to see him anymore. Like he doesn't have a good like resting face for these movies. I don't know. Is that like a vicious thing to say? I don't know, but like,
well, it's not. He's an actor and he's freaking rich. But I know what you mean. I don't know. I'm not like perceptive enough to really say what it was exactly.
He doesn't have a good like face for movies.
Well, he was good as a scoutmaster. I feel like he was great as a scoutmaster.
Yeah. Okay. And he was good in American History X when he was a bald Nazi, I guess. But like I don't know. It's just most of the movies I see him in, he's not good. It's like, and I'm sure as a scoutmaster he's good. I just don't. It's that face, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen American History X?
No, but I know he's in it.
Maybe that would change your opinion on him if you saw that movie. Because in that movie, I heard in an interview when he was considering doing it and he didn't know because it was so intense. And the guy was like, man, if you do this movie, like people won't even know what to think about you. So you should do it just for that. That's why he did it. Apparently. I actually like Edward Norton as like a personality and I like to see him in movies. But like in terms of like, he's like one of those guys that like if I just didn't know who he was, I don't know if I'd want to see him in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can sort of see what you mean,
I guess. I can't even remember what Jeff Goldblum was doing in this.
He was the lawyer. He was like the lawyer who gets killed basically by who's that? He's not Dutch, but like the freaky looking guy who played the Green Goblin. Who's like the berserk.
Was he like a good guy, kind of?
With Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He basically was this like neutral guy who was weirdly involved with the hotel for some reason, and then coincidentally was the lawyer of the case of the old lady's will. And he that's what I'm saying. Is like he had like an interstitial role. Yeah, it was more neutral. Like he was, and then he gets hunted down.
These are all character actors. I hate to say it, man. They're all just character actors.
Yeah.
I guess Ralph Fiennes is like a decent lead, but like.
Yeah, I think he's good.
I mean, Willem Dafoe is good. I mean, that's like the definition of a character actor is Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, definitely.
What did Harvey Keitel do? I don't remember him.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly, dude. Another character actor for you. Jude Law. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Jude Law was the younger version of Stefan Zweig. Was it Harvey Keitel?
Wait, what do you mean he was a younger version? Oh, was he the guy who walked in there and he was like, "Tell me the story about this guy"?
Yeah. In the second of the 3 frame stories, and that younger guy. Oh wait, Keitel maybe played the older Stefan Zweig, which is like the third of the 4th frame stories. I do like the sort of absurdly cascading frame stories as well. It's kind of funny.
Oh, I don't actually remember the whole arc with Stefan Zweig. I don't remember that. I thought the Ralph Fiennes guy was supposed to be Stefan Zweig.
No.
I know that Stefan Zweig didn't run a fucking hotel, but I'm saying that like I just thought he was supposed to embody him somehow.
Yeah, no, I know, yeah. Well, I mean, in a way, he kind of does, but the frame stories are like there's this little girl or this young girl in Austria in like the 70s or even the 80s or something. She's a punk kid. She lays a keychain at the grave of him, and then he is recording a video or something about. I don't even know. His video is I don't know. There's some video of him as an old guy, and then we zoom back and we go to him as a young man at the hotel meeting F. Murray Abraham, basically Old Zero, and then we zoom in from there, and that's the actual story. So it's like these cascading frame stories. There's like literally 4 of them.
This movie is kind of overblown, dude. I'm not gonna lie. This movie, like look at if like for all like okay, I didn't even know Tilda Swinton was the old lady. She had so much fucking makeup on. Like you just don't even.
Well, yeah, she's just meant to look like really old.
Yeah, it's like why even bother with that? Why not just get some old lady that looks like the old lady you want to look like?
I know.
Reconstructing her face.
That's the friendship thing, man. It's like there's no.
It's like baked in too much. It's all like what they had Saoirse Ronan. You know, like I didn't know she was alive when this movie came out.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, she's done a ton of stuff though.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the casting is kind of like iffy, even bad, but in some places. But the story is good enough and has enough.
Who is Jason Schwartzman in this? I didn't know he was even in it. I just remember him from the Darjeeling.
Oh no, he was the he was like the new French bellboy in the '60s version of the hotel.
Oh yeah, that's the problem is that when they jumped into those scenes, those are like expositional. Those scenes where they had like, oh, it's the future. Now we're going to talk about the past because we want to tell you a story because it matters. Blah. When they did that, they had all these like stars playing, but it was like a 5-minute scene or a 5-minute, of shooting.
It was very brief.
I mean, so this movie, like I know it's almost like it doesn't want to be an A. That's how I feel about it. You know, like it doesn't like it. I feel like it's like a B plus. I won't give it a B because that's just like cruel. But I think a B plus is kind of in the league of this.
Yeah, I mean, just because like basically, I don't know, you want to save it for one that you kind of can't really find anything to say anything bad about.
I thought the writing was not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. That was kind of what I noticed when I was rewatching it. Was that sometimes it's almost like clumsy. Like there's a scene where he's like, oh, like it's basically Jude Law at the very end. He says something that's like so like showing, not telling. It's like bizarrely like bad. But in general, what I sort of realized was it's basically like a really long like New Yorker cartoon, which is like really funny.
Oh gosh.
But it has some shortcomings.
Yeah, no, I know it's playing on preconceptions that like Americans have about like Europe that like that are like fabricated and not true to form, and like the whole the pastry company was called Mendel's, and like that's not like a name that people would make for a fucking pastry company. The reason
along those lines, I remember it was like Our Father of the Sudetenwalds or something, which. That's not how like Catholic churches are ever named. I know it's like a nitpicky thing.
You know, that's a good point. Yeah, they thought it sounded Teutonic or something. So they're like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, just like it sounds like a Benedictine monastery.
Yeah, it sounds Benedictine as fuck, dude. It's like it sounds like well, it sounds obscure and like irrelevant and old worldly. But it's in a totally inaccurate way, but to my point about Mendel's, it's the opposite of the Catholic connection. It's like they're obviously naming him after Gregor Mendel, who was who was a monk.
Oh yeah,
probably a Franciscan, and he was he was Austrian, whatever. But like they're doing like this Easter egg where they named the bakery after him. Like, see, that's what I mean. It's like it's.
No, I don't think it was because that doesn't. I think that they're just like, baking, coming up with that off the top of their head,
No, dude, that's not something you No, dude, that's something you research. You're like, oh, Gregor Mendel was Austrian? That's right. Okay.
No, but what's the connection? There's no connection just besides him being Austrian.
No, it's the connection is that the fucking guy like looked up famous Austrian people to include.
Oh.
And he was like, oh, okay, I'll put this guy's name in here. Because I'm not gonna. It's just like.
No, it could be.
No, dude, I'm telling you, Mendel is not a name that people think up randomly. And if it is, it was only because they're talking about Austria. But the effect is the same as you're associating Mendel with this baking company.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not the only thing a Mendel is associated with in the world is the scientist with his pea pods and what his genomic his fruit flies and shit.
It was teapots, I think, mainly.
Well, no, yeah, Thomas Hunt Morgan was fruit flies. That's right.
Ooh, let's go. Nice.
But then I like the ZZ thing because it's like the Nazis. What is it?
Yeah,
SS. It's like SS.
Yeah.
Staatsstupel or whatever.
Well, that is what people complain to him most about, that he's like trivializing the Nazis by like making them just like part of his little theory. Like he's making them like set dressing this little backdrop.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, he did have them like kill the protagonist, so it's not that trivial. But
yeah, that's true. Like later with when the train got stopped, I like that as well.
But he did sort of show them as like toy soldiers, kind of.
Yeah, and I mean that's the whole thing. Like this whole like I don't. Maybe it's necessary for him to, in order for him to produce the effect. I don't realize that like it wouldn't work if he didn't do this like tilt shift thing. But like, it's kind of obnoxious. I don't really like it. Like I was saying, it's not. I could really do without it. The whole like, we're all just little stick figures in a not stick figures. We're like the little felt puppets in like a play place.
I know, like they're so impotent. They're like it's a masquerade of impotence. And the irony is, it's not even in fucking Vienna or Budapest, really. I mean, it's really.
No, it's in a made-up country of Zabrovka.
It's in Zabrovka, and it's shot in Germany. It's like it's so insulting, yeah.
Well, that's fine. I mean, honestly, like they shoot Middle Eastern movies in Jordan instead of
Arizona.
Iraq.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like.
No, but that's because they're scared of getting blown up by RPGs. It's not because they can't go there.
Yeah, that's a better reason. Yeah, no, I mean, I hate to be like ripping on it so much, but I did kind of feel like once you go kind of beneath the surface, you realize it's just like funny words that kind of sound like the thing, but have no connection to it at all.
It's a caricature in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of, I don't know, like when I first saw it, I kind of expected everything to like correspond to something real. Like,
it's impressionistic. It's like you go to Times Square and someone wants to draw a portrait of you for $5, and then after like sitting there for 20 minutes, he hands you the portrait. You're like, this doesn't look like me, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that, but for an entire culture. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that but in that case, like, is it even a love letter if it doesn't really capture it? Because you could say it captures the essence of it, and I don't know. I think that perhaps it does.
Well, no, I think it's certainly a love letter. I just think that it's a love letter that's like, I mean, it's not like a letter. Who's it written to? I mean, that's the thing. It's an advertisement for something that doesn't exist. It's confusing because on the one hand you're like, yeah, it's a love letter, but then you're like, what is a fucking love letter? There's no letter. I mean, there's love, but there's no.
I mean, people use that term to refer to.
I know.
Something.
I know how they refer to it, but I think that like.
Well, I know. So like, it's not to anyone. It's like to the audience, but it's about some third thing.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it would be like, I think it would be offensive.
It's not a love letter. It's like an encomium or something. Probably a better word.
That's Latin, bro. Latin is not good for
for like just popular.
Panergic, man. How about an
ode? There we go.
A eulogium, dude. Eulogium.
There we go.
Yeah.
See, people know what that is, but then they think it's dead. But it is dead. So what is a eulogy?
A paean. Oh, I like this one. A paean.
Yeah, a paean. People know what a paean is. Come on, let's go.
No one knows what that shit. A triumph. It was a triumph. Extolment. Oh, I like that one. Extolment. It's an extolment. It's a little too crisp. Little thin.
No, it just reminds me of like a little rabbit poop. Extolment. Oh, he made an extolment.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
Which, I mean, rabbit poops are too crisp, to be honest.
But it's definitely not an encomium. I mean, it's got to be.
I know it's not.
It's a pastiche. It's a pastiche.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily complimentary. That's
I know, but that's how I feel about it. I don't feel like it is like ultimately complimentary.
Yeah.
They sort of jerk around with it. They're like, oh yeah, you guys get great Viennese. I love your cafes. I love your fancy soirees, and you're swishing around and your Belle Epoque. Or just like. Yeah,
that's a great point.
I know the frou. They make it seem frou-frou, which maybe it was, but I don't think it was this frou-frou. They're making it seem so frou-frou.
refined.
It's not. No, it's like the exaggeration of refinement. It's the abuse of refinement.
Well, it's caricature, like you said.
It's a cavalcade of microaggressions. I mean, it's just
now you sound like a movie reviewer.
yeah. I mean, I love the art design or whatever the whatever they call it, the concept art for it, and I love the fabrications they made. I love the costumes, the makeup. I mean, the production is amazing, but the verisimilitude is like kind of gross.
Yeah, I mean that's I guess that's the essence of it. It's like, I mean, it sounds snarky, but it does seem like this like kind of vague American vision of what this whole culture was, which it wasn't really at all. So then what the hell is it even about? I don't know. Maybe it's not that inaccurate. I have no idea. But I like the heart. I like the wittiness of it. It's very droll. But it's the same drollness as a freaking New Yorker cartoon. But I could read New Yorker cartoons for hours, so it fits.
I don't think it's droll.
What do you call it then? It's like, you know, when they're just, it's very dry, I suppose.
It's dry and ribald at the same time. But
it's not that ribald. It's like, you know, honestly, it's a little bit when he's like, oh, I sleep with all my friends. But it's not really it's not like raunchy.
It's definitely not raunchy, but it's
ribald's a little more subtle.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Rabelaisian or something, but it's like.
Yeah. Definitely not.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I think it's. I mean, it's like kind of prim and prissy. But it's like more prissy than prim, and then it's also.
I don't know the difference.
It's dry and slow, but then it's also.
I don't think it's that slow. Honestly, I tell you what, this is kind of random, but I just saw, like on TV,
kind of spicy, maybe spicy.
I wouldn't say it's very spicy. It's sort of bland. It's like affectedly bland. If I'm not mistaken. But anyway,
twee. Well, it's twee. Maybe body.
It's definitely twee. No, it's not body at all.
I just like these words. I think that's it. I just want to use them.
Just want to say them nonstop.
Yeah, it's an impulsive, obsessive impulsive disorder.
There we go. That's what it is. Captured the essence of it right there.
OID.
What are you doing? You sound like you're reading a freaking dictionary over there.
I was synonymizing, and then. You know what?
Synonymizing. That's a little.
You know what it was? It was kind of prurient.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. That's like so inaccurate. That's like calling it like hard boiled.
Well, I mean, it wasn't libidinous, but it was, or lecherous, but it was,
you know what?
But maybe it was lubricious and salacious.
Yeah, it was very lugubrious and quantious.
Quantious. It was querulous and emulous, but not insalubrious. And it didn't cerebrate excessively.
Well, so you say.
So I say. Well, I'm the foremost expert on wordsmithing bullshit. So don't come around here with your fencing sticks anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'll joust you to death, dude.
That doesn't sound very.
Get you right in the armpit, with that lance. Cool. No, okay. What more can we say about it? Do you want to talk about Darjeeling Limited? Because I think we've both seen that. So it's just.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's been a long time since. Well, I mean, I feel like we came at it from a weird angle. Like we didn't like.
I can change the title. I can change the title.
No. I don't mean I don't mean like the podcast. I mean the movie. Like we came at it from like an odd, like starting with the casting. Like I mean,
I saw it recently. I saw it recently.
Okay.
Like probably within a year.
Where do you like truly begin? It's got a story, which is complicated and confusing. I think we kind of covered it, but weirdly, I feel like we haven't hit the essence of it.
I feel like this was kind of his best movie. Darjeeling Limited.
Oh,
Low
I'm
key.
sorry. I was still talking about the Grand Budapest. Yeah, I'm thinking that now because I really liked Moonrise Kingdom. But have you seen it?
Bits and pieces.
Okay, I'll spoil it a little bit. I'm not really spoiling it, but like he does some like the kids like touch each other, and I just morally that's just like bizarre and like totally gratuitous and unnecessary.
Yeah.
Right, it's like Blue Lagoon romanticism. Like you're literally getting like a 10-year-old to like.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing: these movies are fucking rewatchable, though. Like you can watch, like all these movies are like they have high rewatchability.
Yeah,
and even if there's some like moral failing and like a cut scene or an insert of some kind, it's like there's still these.
It's not a cut scene. It's it's pivotal.
Oh, it was like consequential to the denouement of the main character.
Well, I would say it wasn't. That's why
denouement.
It was there.
Denouement.
I think, yeah.
Not
like.
I didn't actually say that. I just kind of blurted it. I knew it was I know how it's spelled. I just didn't pronounce it right.
Well, there's plenty of words in English that do that. I can't think of any, but I know there are some.
The denouement. Let's go with that.
Like loan words that have lost their original language pronunciation and only But whatever, that's irrelevant. But yeah, I agree. I think Darjeeling Limited. It kind of sucks. It sort of wins by possible elimination, but it also doesn't because it's really good on its own. But it also kind of does because all his movies have really good things going for him. But then he
it has wabi sabi. It's the opposite of Grand Budapest in that way. Like it's kind of gritty and gross.
Wait, what the hell's wabi sabi? I've never heard.
That's a Japanese aesthetic. It stems from Zen Buddhism. And it means that something is like kind of gnarly and fucked up, but that's what makes it cool and like and appealing. And when something's like kind of grody and like broken, it's like it makes it more attractive than something that's like perfect seeming, like too perfect,
Yeah.
And it's obviously not like exclusive to Japanese culture, but they have a term for it that's relatively popular. Yeah, and it's called wabi sabi, and it's from Zen Buddhism. I just said that like 3 times, I guess.
What does it mean though? What does the original thing mean?
Oh, what does the roots mean?
Yeah.
Let's go on. Etymologies. Okay.
I don't know. Well, it sounds like
it's
funny because like what does rock mean? Like you already told me what it meant, so like yeah, you're right. It is etymology. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But why do you bring it up? It is the opposite of his style, pretty much.
Well, no, I'm saying that's what made Darjeeling Limited the best one. Is it has wabi sabi to the max for Wes Anderson,
basically.
Yeah, for Wes Anderson, it has a lot of wabi sabi, and
yeah.
His other movies just don't, and it kind of creeps me out.
Yeah. He sort of holds back on like the really, I don't know what you call it, like basically it's not so pristine, and those like inflexible freaking like right angle shots or whatever, the square shots, they just don't do it for me. Like I don't get.
Yeah, and he also can't block a scene to save his fucking life, dude. Telling you, he frames really rigidly, and he's good at it. But then, or whoever, Robert Yaleman, whoever's doing it, they're good at it. Yeah. But then the way the characters walk around in the frame is like bad. It's always bad.
Yeah,
and it's bad. It's bad. Like it's functional. I should say it's not like ugly, but it's limited. It's monotonous. The same every time. There's no variety to it. And I don't know. I think that like when you frame a shot, you want there to be. He actually, it can be good if you're like in the middle of the film and you don't want to be surprised by anything. But I think for like the beginning of a film and the ending of a film, you want that kind of surprise in the block. You know what blocking is?
It's basically where people stand, right?
Yeah, it's where people stand and move. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like it in any of his movies, but I think the Darjeeling Limited is the best one.
I don't even remember the blocking, man. I don't really pay attention to that kind of thing. Honestly.
You should, man. That's what makes or breaks a lot of movies. It's like this one feature that doesn't work.
I can believe it's a big part of it. Definitely, I can see that. Just because of the dynamism, I get it.
Well, in the Grand Budapest, it's like it's because they're showcasing the interiors so much that they shoot the room, and the character is like standing in like the middle of the room and doesn't move anywhere. and then they'll go
Yeah.
cut to a different they'll jump cut really to like another scene where there's another person at like a mid wide shot, and they're just standing or sitting, and you kind of see the camera looking down on them, and then but like sometimes the camera looks down like directly like a bird's eye. It doesn't look down like at an angle like a cantilever or anything. So like it's like really it's not even mechanical. It's like blockish. Like it's like cube. You know, like the way that he frames is like the camera's 90 degrees from the floor, and then it's facing directly up or down. But then when he actually has the people, they don't do movement, right? Like they just stand somewhere, or they are sitting, or they walk like one step and then punch someone. It's just like, but then it's like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, dude, the fights are the worst. They're not even fights. I mean, the whole point is they're not fights, which is like.
I feel like I spent too much energy trying to explain it, but you're right. The fights prove it. Like the fights are so bad.
Yeah.
It's almost like he has his own style of fighting, just because the rest of the movie is so good that you forget that like the fights just don't make any sense.
Yeah, the moments which really just irk me are like the weird like long shots where they just look like they're standing on like a toy place, and the quote fights quote, and I get they're both meant to be like twee little like I don't know, man. I'm just making myself hate it, which I don't. So
no, you gotta pick it apart, because then you'll find that's the only way to appreciate it more is to break it down, and then when you see it again, you'll find new things you like, and then at the end of the day, you'll have everything. Even the stuff that was negative, you won't care about the negative stuff. You'll just see the whole picture. So you can't. It's like dialectical. You need to be the negativity is actually like the wheel that like keeps the it's the engine. That keeps the train moving. So.
That's a bunch of crazy. I mean, I don't know. I kind of get it.
Well, yeah, it just does sound crazy. I was saying something to someone last night. I was like, "Oh, that's very Freudian," So it's like they're fixated on their shadow, and it just like came across as kind of deranged. But like that's just how you talk about art sometimes. You have to sound a little crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have to sort of be more.
And everyone reacts differently. Like you can say something that you say to like all your friends and no one cares, and you say it to a new person, they think it's weird. And it's like, well, it's just a different kind of person, I guess.
Yeah.
Because not everyone views things like not. I mean, everyone like I think there's like an overlap, but I think everyone has like a different limitation. Sorry, so different boundary for what they think is normal.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
But anyway, going into the Darjeeling Limited, I really liked it because I thought there was this. It was personal. I thought the Grand Budapest was not very personal. It was about a guy that was hard to relate to, actually.
Yeah.
Whereas the Darjeeling Limited is like, okay, this guy, their mom doesn't give a fuck about them. Their dad's dead. He died.
Yeah.
The brothers never get along. And that's real life, They're in a shithole country trying to make the most out of it, and it's going great, but it's also going terrible. And it's like, and then the guy's in love with the girl on the train because he's a maniac, and the girl is like, likes him too, but they get kicked off twice or whatever.
Dude, that movie gets like slept on, but the more you talk about it, like it's really
good.
The dialogue, because I saw it and I kind of expected it to suck because it's one of his most poorly reviewed movies, but I think it is anyway. But it's just the characters, you love them, you love watching them, you love their actual dynamics they have.
Well, the Life Aquatic is good too, but it's just like it's like a very superficial version of the same thing. It's like, this guy has a problem, but it's hard to relate to. Like his friend got killed or something. Like he has to go find a shark, but then that's actually just like a subplot. The real plot is him like trying not to be a douche while his life gets filmed, I guess.
Yeah,
it was kind of.
I don't really remember that one that much.
That movie was like a party movie. That's a movie you play at a party, and then you tune in, you're like, oh, he's he got boarded by pirates and he's shooting all of them. There's like scenes where literally he runs around with like a pistol and shoots like 30 rounds out of a gun that only has 16, and he kills every big pirate.
That's all some weird, kitschy, intentional thing, which I don't understand.
Yeah, but that movie is like something you watch at a party because you don't have anything to talk about and you need a conversation starter. So you just.
Oh gosh, dude! I feel like I feel like movies should not be abused in that way. Call me a purist.
I don't think music or movies should be used as conversation starters, but they are props.
Yeah, but just like also just like this thing people do. So many people do it where they just will watch something in the background and kind of tune it out. Like I can't do it like with reality TV. Like let alone like an actual movie that someone like worked on and like made fit together, at least presumably. Like it's like why are you even bothering? You're just missing so much. I feel like most multitasking is kind of like that, to be honest.
Well, I'll say, there's different. Everything has a purpose, right? And some things are more stereotypical, and other things are more out the box. And some things are actually stereotypical in a sense you didn't even think about. And my view is that like Life Aquatic is a movie that like you might not love it, but like if you can like make friends at every party you go to by playing it, sounds corny. But that's the movie. That's a movie that could do that because there's always someone who's gonna be like, oh yeah, I like this one. There's so many different scenes that have like they're distinct, and so you can pick apart and just pick something, and there's a scene that someone will like, no matter who they are. It's very diverse in that way. I mean, maybe I would say it's varied. It's a scene that has scenic variation, but then you watch Darjeeling Limited, and this is the reason it's stomped on. It's like treaded over. It's because the scenes all kind of look the same, and they all have the same tone. It's tonally very coherent, which is why it's excellent literature. But it's just
not a lot really happens as well. I think
a lot happens. You just have a lot happens. It's just it doesn't
look like it.
It doesn't look like it. Well, it's a very like
I remember that. Yeah, no, I remember that. No, dude, that movie's great. I like it. I like it. I don't know. More. I kind of watch it again. I don't know. I gotta vary things up. I guess what I was gonna say. This is kind of out of left field, but I randomly watched like The Nutty Professor, like the original from the '60s. Have you ever seen that?
With that's really old.
Jerry Lewis. I think.
No, I've never seen that. Never.
I saw part of it, and I thought it was just gonna suck. It's actually pretty. It's pretty good. It's like really good. Like I really enjoyed it. Although I do have kind of a almost like an obsessive fixation on older movies, just because like the old film lenses, they like Pavlovianly like just fascinate me. I don't know why. Like that just the look and like the look of the world in the past, especially because I was watching it like 4K. So like it was all this like 60, and there's this like actress, and she's so beautiful. But I don't know. It's kind of not really relevant to anything, but we could. I don't know. I formally suggest you watch that at some point.
Dude, I can't handle 60s comedies. What's a good 60s comedies outside of this Nutty Professor?
I know. Well, it's not even really funny. It's like it's not funny at all. It's just bizarre. It's actually more touching than it's funny. Like it's got some nice morals at the end or whatever you call it. Nice little wrap up moral lesson.
I don't know if I have the time for it, honest with you.
I know it's like 3 hours or something. It's not, but it's like.
Why did you watch that? It could be. Is it got like good quips? Is it like clever?
No, man. It's purely the visual experience and the weird like nostalgic thing of like looking at like a totally
1963.
Yeah.
That's early 60s.
Yeah.
What?
It could almost be the 50s. But no, dude, 60s and 70s comedy.
It actually looks like an 80s movie.
Yeah, it's pretty.
If it weren't for the outdated cameras and stuff, maybe the makeup a little, it looks like an 80s movie.
It's pretty crisp.
I mean, it's just.
I thought it was gonna be like Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, I think it's been restored a number of times, and so it looks like it's an 80s when it's not. Okay.
I'm sorry, that's a tangent. Let's go back to
yeah, it is a tangent, but I just want to see. Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean. Actually, some of these things are really good, like these kitschy movies. Like,
I hate to say it because I don't. That's the thing, though. It's not kitsch because I'm not really sneering at it. Like when I watched it, I was like, look how cheesy they are back then. I'm gonna laugh at them, but invariably, when I watch those movies, I'm just instead like kind of in awe of the past. I have kind of a problem with nostalgia, though, to be honest. So that's really what that is. It's a personal thing. Oh, crap. But,
I watched Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
I watched a movie, not Dracula, but it was a movie where he like played a surgeon. And it was actually really like suspenseful and like I was like there. Yeah, it's like good movie. It's like wow, this is like I'm like on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, sometimes they're actually like really enjoyable.
Yeah, also the Bela Lugosi was just a hell of a person, like hell of an actor. You know, he's like, you have this. He's like really tall, and he has this face like he really will suck your blood. You know. Yeah, it's like it's like, hey, I'm from Romania. Whatever. He's like, I am Vladimir. Yeah, he's from actually a town called Lugosi or something. It's called like Lugos, and he actually changed his name to commemorate the town he's from in Transylvania. But that town is now part of Romania, but at one point was part of Hungary, and he just got gerrymandered. But yeah, but that guy is someone that there should be like more tributes for, because Christopher Lee is a good Dracula, but he's no Bela Lugosi, you know.
It's just iconic. I don't know that I never saw the original thing though, the original Dracula from the 30s, so I can't attest.
Yeah, it's just one of those, it's like one of those things. I mean, it's like all those what's it called? Is it Warner Brothers? The Universal horror.
Yeah, no, they wanted to make a universe. They wanted to do their own like version of the Marvel Avengers, but with the monsters.
Wait,
because they have all those properties, you know.
Wait, no, what are you talking about? That's not I'm talking about Universal. This was a long time ago.
I know, but they wanted to redo it, and
they have. Oh, is that like a thing right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Gave up on it.
Yeah, well,
they're first.
What they really should do is just promote those movies again. I mean, it's like so silly. Like, don't they understand that? Like, if you just like push things in advertising, like people will buy it more. I mean, it's like just advertise it. They still have the rights. I hate when people like forget that what advertising is. It's like, yeah, you have to advertise things in order for people to buy it. Yeah.
I know, but it can be a steep push if it's just some old movie. Honestly, some people I'm sure most people don't want to watch old movies. They probably hate old movies.
Yeah, I mean,
I
mean,
it's like documentaries.
I mean, maybe it starts out that way, but if you push it enough, people will just be like, all right, I keep seeing this billboard, so I may as well watch it.
Yeah. I don't know. I still feel like you'd be hard pressed to get that much hype.
Well, you have to put the money in. Yeah, I mean, it's more about like finding the money for it than it is about.
But would it be worth the investment? Like, would the investment of millions of dollars of advertising instead of making an entire new film, just re-releasing an old one?
Well, it might not be It might not be like. It wouldn't like say
as profitable.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as profitable, but like I think
they
people
do that with like Star Wars sometimes.
Well, Star Wars is weird because Star Wars is like is like religious. Like we've been indoctrinated. It's like a little kid Bible kind of. I mean, for a lot of people, not everyone. But yeah, so the Darjeeling Limited. I want to say one thing about the Darjeeling Limited is that many things is that the it's got a lot of good scenes, a lot of good funny moments. It's humorous. I thought it was a funnier movie than The Grand Budapest.
Yeah, it is.
It had more emotional pull for me. And then the when they find the mom at the top of the hill, the whole thing is a little bit like too realistic in a sense. Like it's anticlimactic at points. But when they meet her and she's like talks to them, and then like the next morning afterwards, she just vanishes.
Yeah.
She's gone. Like she's back to her old shit. Like she literally is she's on like a pilgrimage or whatever. She's a missionary.
Yeah.
And she literally abandons her post just to avoid them, you know. Like I think that's like it kind of hits home. Like I think people do that stuff. That's something that's like esoteric from the past and maybe happened, maybe didn't. It's not questionable. Like we know that people do things like that, you know? So I feel like that's what made that movie so good. It was it just felt real, even though it was like fluffed up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair to the Grand Budapest Hotel, exactly what you're saying. That moment where he's talking about the illness that killed his wife, where the older Zero, you know, F. Murray Abraham's character is talking about how like his wife survived all that and then she died of like the Prussian scurvy or something. Like the dumb name aside, like that's so true to the 20th century, basically, that like people would just be like perish in these like massive plagues which just don't exist anymore. And it's also just sort of true to real life. Like you can win the battle.
Dude, you're like, oh, she died from a plague. Like people, that's not something that like people wouldn't
know. But in the movie, for it to be like in the frame story, they seemingly live happily ever after, and then like it's not even shown that she just dies later. It's just there's something interesting that I always kind of like that because it's a similar thing.
I mean, I guess it's a touch of realism, kind of, but I think it's also just like it's like trying to get Oscar or something. I don't know. It seemed a little bit tacked on. It seems tacky.
It's not tied into everything, but I think it just seemed like one of those things of realism. I don't know. As well as the thing where like he makes it through the Nazis one time, or like the proto-Nazis with his charm, and then the second time it just doesn't work, and it's all like black and white.
But the reason that works is because there's a precedent for it with the first sequence, and then the second sequence. You're kind of for whatever reason you think, oh, he's gonna fight his way out because it's what he did the last time, and this movie is a happy film. You're still thinking it's a happy film, and then you're kind of deceived when they kill him. But like with the whole thing the whole thing with the wife dying of scurvy, I don't think people cared. I mean, I shouldn't say people, but I don't think it was inherently intriguing or interesting what was going on with him and the wife. I mean, she was a weak character, and his character is kind of borderline. I mean, it's not someone who was easy to invest in emotionally. It was those two characters. I barely even remember that like they got married, and it was like a big deal or something because of that they were different ethnicities or whatever. And I barely even remember that. And it's like, oh, she dies. It's like, wait, I don't know. It's like, what? I don't know. But you're saying that she died because they were like ethnically different, and it drives it home.
No, I'm not saying that at all. That's like that's totally no. I'm basically saying that like the idea that like you can get to some point in your life where you're like, okay, this is it, like the happy ending, and then like 20 years later, like everything will just like fall apart like meaninglessly almost. And then like 15 more years later, you'll like meet some guy and you'll like tell him he's like the only guy you ever told. That is what it feels very like authentic, and that kind of makes up for like the storybook kitschiness. Is like in the end, it kind of gives credit to the sadness of life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it like. I like the movie. I'm not gonna hate the movie because of this, but I don't think that turn at the end was like a genius, like a master stroke or anything. I think it was like it's just a tacked on thing, kind of, and it did not work for me. I don't really have an opinion on it, but we're talking about it, and I feel like it's not as great as you're sort of spinning it,
Yeah, it could be. I mean, when I saw it this time, like the fact that it was just a made-up disease that was like almost a joke to him, that wasn't really that funny. That kind of like annoyed me.
That's what I mean. It's like it was like an attack, and did they actually call it like the Prussian flu or whatever?
The Prussian grip, I think.
See, that's like they're trying to be cute, but like, there's a lot of also it's like anti-German in like a funny way, but in a bad way because that movie is kind of anti-German at some point. Yeah, I'm kind of getting annoyed with the film because they act like Hungary is like responsible for this culture, but it's actually like a Viennese kind of thing that just happened to spread to Budapest because Budapest was the second capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
I don't think it is about Budapest as a real city,
No, but I think it is because that's what they're associating it with. It's like, I mean, I think it's located in. I mean, people don't know. Like, people aren't just gonna know the difference between Budapest and Vienna, and then they're gonna watch this and be like, "Well, this is what Budapest was like." Whoa! And then it's like, but really, that was like a Vienna thing that like spread over to Budapest because they sort of like became a sister city in the 1840s. But like it wasn't original to Budapest, and then they have this whole like anti-German kind of attitude. It's like, dude, the Germans are the ones who brought this culture to you.
Well, I mean, I still think it was. I think it was pretty clearly meant to be like this kind of vaguely Austria-Hungary kind of,
Yeah,
but
it was, but like if I know, if you
you're saying that people will just see Budapest and be like, oh, Budapest. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of a stretch, but I always sort of thought that just the fact that it was called the Grand Budapest and it was like not actually in Budapest or in Hungary at all.
Yeah.
Or at least not in Budapest. It seemed like it was similarly like a kind of like quirky, like, oh well, it's not the right name. Like, isn't that funny? Like, just like how his new movie is the French Dispatch of the Louisville freaking,
Wait, what is the deal with the French Dispatch? I'm unfamiliar, unacquainted.
It's just like the name is like a joke that like isn't what it originally sounds like it is. Like the French Dispatch of the Pennsylvania, Kansas.
Yeah, I'm gonna torrent that. You know what I mean?
No,
I'm kidding.
I can look up what it's called, the full title. Because I can. Oh, this is another love letter. French Dispatch of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun.
Oh,
you see what they're doing there?
Yeah, they're
doing that like funny thing where it's like you think you're done reading, but it's like that sentence. The man ran. You know those.
That's
like,
kind of smart. Yeah, when they confuse the cultures on you.
It's not really that. It's like that like word game where it's like the man ran past the door, fell, or I know it sounds like gibberish, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean,
well, I gotta find an actual example.
The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy boy, that kind of thing.
Oh wait, here it is. The horse raced past the barn, fell, and it even though it sounds like nonsense, it's a real sentence because it tricks you.
But that's not what this is. I see what you're saying.
And that's Dispatch of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun. I don't know. You're right. It's not, but it's like the same genre of weird ass thing that is.
But you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm looking at Owen Wilson's face in this picture, and I'm just so annoyed already. Just so annoyed.
Wow. I thought that he was.
I don't know. I think you have a. I don't know. Maybe he's just old, and I'm like sad that he's old. Yeah, I feel old. Yeah, because he's old. I agree. I think what annoys me is that they these movies are like all this art in them, but then like it's just like in a fucking movie. It's like it's not like it's not like a building. It's not like a sculpture that's in public. It's just a movie that people are like kind of forget about.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think. Well, I mean, obviously there are limitations to buildings and sculpture, but we don't have enough of either of those that people actually like. It's all this like modernist junk that is so expensive.
I'm watching a show right now that reminds me of this. It's called the what's it called? The Click. I don't know. It's got Clive Owen in it, and it's on Cinemax. It sounds kind of bad. It sounds kind of like I don't even know the name. It's actually The Nick. It's called The Nick, and it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, and he's a doctor in like the 1900s, and he's the first surgeon or something in New York. And you see them do all these experimental procedures where like tons of people die, and then like the doctors like commit suicide and shoot themselves in the head because they're like, oh, like I fucking killed another pregnant woman. I needed to kill myself. And it's like really grim. And this guy's like he shoots cocaine into himself every day so he can do the procedures and be like and perform surgery. And they're basically inventing surgery. And it's not you have to subscribe to Cinemax or HBO, but it's
I have HBO subscription,
and it's like really good, and it's good because I don't know, maybe it's like I just find like personal. I feel like a lot of these TV shows are like personal, whereas like films like are broader. TV shows are kind of like it's like psychological. Like you binge watch an episode, you're like, in order to actually pay attention, it has to like appeal to your own bullshit kind of. You're like the machinations in your head. It has to follow like a similar logic. But like with a film, it's sort of just an expose of some kind. It's like
I've always seen movies and films. It's kind of the same.
interchangeable.
Yeah, I mean, one's just longer. I know it's like so not true,
but like I think just diegetically, like the TV shows are more about like your personal bullshit, and films are more about like understanding the world.
Yes, it's like.
Sorry, I don't mean to fuck. I mean, draw.
Kind of the same thing.
What's the term for drama or narrative that's like not either? Not dramaturge. Not diegetic.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'll have to read Aristotle's Poetics again and find it.
Just say what you're thinking, I guess.
Well, I'm saying is that like when you watch these TV shows, they're of the moment. They're trying to grab people that like are just like that don't go to movies. They're not as artsy. Basically, they're trying to grab this like middle tier person that like just wants to watch something. So they're gonna
more of a higher form. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So what I'm saying, no, I'm saying a TV show. I'm saying TV is trying to.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, and that's why it would be viewed by like the common folk, I guess. But
I think it's more therapeutic, Like I think like a movie is meant to like it's more like a badge of honor. Like, oh, I watched this movie, I liked it, like I'm sophisticated. I think with the TV show, you're watching because it's like your basic instincts are like sort of embroiled in the narrative, and you're like, wow, this is like about me, but it's about them, and it makes me think about my life.
You could say that in either one.
I don't watch movies that much that I feel that way. Maybe I'm watching a good show right now. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I feel like it's also kind of idiosyncratic. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I like a movie, it's because I'm sort of embroiled in it. I mean, I have my own like weird little habits. I think we sort of all do with either form. I don't know.
You know what I'm realizing about Wes Anderson that is like kind of annoying, but also signature to his style, is that he's very diegetic with everything. Everything that happens is like seen on screen. Not a lot is like off screen. In part,
Well, I think there are events that happen off screen.
It could be off screen, but then the characters are still going to experience it or perceive it. Right.
Yeah. There's. I think that's kind of. It's almost like new sincerity, Like everything is said, everything is gestured, everything is like expressed and explained, and there's irony, but it's also I don't know, dude.
I like it's like an eccentric form of new sincerity. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's still kind of ironic, honestly, but there are lessons and stuff in it.
But he doesn't do his like I don't know, man. He doesn't. The characters are stiff. Is another thing, and
that's like part of it. That's like it's almost like it's very timid or something.
Yeah, it's timid. It's formal. It's formal. It's not like formalism, like Russian formalism. It's not like literary theory formal. It's just like very like cold and upright and stiff upper lip and just.
Well, it's like taking refuge in form as a way to run away from like excessively strong emotion.
It's motionless. It's still. I get tired of the stillness of it. It's like. Well.
Yeah, well, that's a funny thing because I feel like that is very present in Paul Thomas Anderson.
You think Paul Thomas Anderson's a little bit more? No, Paul Thomas Anderson it has more balance for sure. More balance.
Yeah.
My problem with Paul Thomas Anderson's movies is that the characters are like bad people. They're never like he doesn't have like characters that you like. They're unlikable. All of them. I mean, it's like unusual for a character to be like likable in like a sincere way. Like they're usually like characters that you kind of want to see fail. And I think that like it's like a bad mood kind of film. Like even in like Punch Drunk Love, like I didn't really like the Adam Sandler character despite him having all
no.
these crippling anxieties and whatnot.
Yeah, he's not very winsome.
And because it kind of like limits the humor, because you need to have like a contrast of light and shade to like have like, you know.
It's a pretty good point. You have to have a likable character for something to be very funny.
Yeah, or just I mean, you need both. Like, you can't have everyone be likable, or else it just be
Yeah, of course.
tepid.
It's like Saccharin or something.
Saccharin, yeah. But it's just, and I think the cinematography is great in both. Like they don't do any of these like weird like infomercial style shots, like an over the shoulder or like a Dutch angle or something that's like you see in experimental films, or like a tracking shot or a crane shot, or they don't do these things that are like they're trying to seem overly professional and overly commercial, and that's why it's more of an art. But I still think that like the way they bake down the characters is like it's kind of disappointing in both cases.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean,
All right, well we did an hour and a half, and it's mostly just my face.
We paused it because we talked about how much we liked the freaking whatever the Indian one. What's it called?
The Darjeeling Limited.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Well, that's a good. I mean, see, I don't know. That movie was more dynamic. The Grand Budapest is a phenomenal film, but it's very staid in the action you see and on the screen, and I just my takeaway is like, and it has this artifice of like representing culture, but like I think it's a little bit of like a pretense. I don't think like the culture is properly represented. It's not. It doesn't come across as authentic.
I think you said it pretty much. That's a great description of it, basically.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we did this little video essay of me jumping around in my apartment.
That's funny. Yeah, I haven't seen anything you've been doing. I hope it's not.
It's just me being an oddball, I guess. All right, I'm gonna end the stream.
All right.
You can stay on.